Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Dave TV. Dave TV for the 17th of November, 2013. You know, the Jeff Bezos post, virtually every single section of this newspaper is more boring now than it was a year ago. This paper has become more dull, drier, duller, and grayer. This paper is gray. It's lots of big pictures, meaning not a lot of copy. Headlines. This is just an earth-shattering front page. Room for error in goal for health site. I mean, that is one of those grip you by the balls headlines. Wow, I gotta read that. I mean, it's like, it's almost like the people at the Post have to take no dose in order to just put this damn thing together some days. The business section, Sunday, which is only on Sundays, they got rid of the other business sections, and you read this and it's like, look at that, another giant picture because we don't have any stuff to print, we don't have enough copy to print, to fill this thing, and it's just dull stuff. Okay, really exciting read. How to read financial media. Talk back on debt collection. It's like, how many of these Michelle Singletary articles has she written on debt collectors? I mean, it's just like, oh, I got to recycle another column. Oh, no. The whole paper just feels recycled. Everybody's written about the same things. Another article on the Newseum. And how many articles have we gotten on the Newseum? Again, this thing, look, even at the top of the Metro section, there's only one story. And this story was already on the website 3 days ago. So if you've read the website, and then you go, oh, I already read that. And then, of course, they just, more of the recycled. They always do this thing where every Christmas and Thanksgiving, they print little ways to drive up to New York or wherever so you can avoid the traffic backups. It's like this column is always, it's the annual column. It's just, the whole paper's like that now. It's just dull and recycled and gray and long articles. You look at some of these, even some of these business articles, they're long and boring, and just go on. And I don't know, like another one, big, long, full page. I don't know, man. It's just like if it doesn't snag you, you just kind of miss it, I don't know. It needs a lot of work, and I think the paper is drifting in a downward direction since Mr. Bezos bought it. I really do, and I think, especially the style section, it needs to be blown up and completely re-imaged. It's just while I do think some of the sports writing is pretty good, again, the whole paper needs a major redesign. And it needs to be brought into the 20th century. I mean, I'm not talking about the 21st century. It needs to be brought into the 20th century. So how y'all doing, everybody? Just want to make sure I don't have anything in my beard. I just had my breakfast sandwich. And sometimes I do these shows and then I all of a sudden see a big hunk of, oh my goodness, Okay, so this actually came to me in a dream last night. Okay, I'm dreaming, and I'm just like flying around in my dreams and whatever I do, and I just came upon this crazy thought. We're having the battle of the all-newsers here in Washington. We all know that. I've talked about it mucho times here on DCR TV, Dave TV. What a catchy name. But anyhow, WTOP has been here forever, since the Stone Age, back when there were cavemen, listening to the rock radios, they were listening to WTOP. And so, it gets great ratings. It continues to get great ratings with the government shutdown last month and the elections. It's right up there in number one. But there's a lot of people that are leaving WTOP and going over to WNEW. We had another one just this week. What's her name? Desiree Smith. It's not somebody you probably may even remember their name, but they're an editor and a writer over there. Just I don't know how many people have left WTOP. A lot of the folks that are working at WNEW now, which is the CBS All Newser, which is approaching its second anniversary in January. And it's almost a lot of the people that are working there now are former WTOPers. And when I talk to the folks at WTOP, even with the defections of people leaving WTOP and going to WNEW, there's no, I don't hear anger. The people at WTOP that remain there, they're good people over there at WNEW. We like them. Even though we were glad to beat them in the ratings, you don't see that, the terrible, rotten people. They respect each other. And yet, when you look at the ratings, poor old WNEW just can't get traction after 2 years. Now, I thought when they launched WNEW back, what was it, January of 2012, I thought, okay, they're going to struggle for the first 6 months. They're going to be 30th place, whatever, 28th place. But I say by the end of 2012, they'll start to maybe go up to the upper 20s, the 21, 20, what the lower, what do you call it? The 20, 22, 21, 20th. And I thought by their second year, they'd be at least above 20 or above, like 17th place or 19th place or something like that. I thought that would be a pretty good growth rate if by but the early part of their second year, they can start, they can at least show they're growing. And TOP, instead of being number one, maybe fourth or something. And just, you're not going to see NEW suddenly overtake TOP, but you're going to see a gradual progression there. And yet, when you look at the radio ratings, when you look at the last numbers, when you look at that money demo, that all-important money demo, WNEW is still like 34th place or something. There's just nothing, and again, my radio people tell me, don't look at the ratings, it's the revenue. Stations can get lousy ratings as long as the advertisers are stupid enough to think, like WMAL, as long as they got a bunch of dumbass advertisers that want to reach those crazy right-wingers, they can make money on that even if the ratings suck. Whatever, it's certain demos, and then they make money, and it's all about money. But anyhow, so I digress. So I'm looking at WNEW and I'm going, okay, the same old story. It doesn't look like CBS is planning to pull the plug on WNEW anytime soon with more and more people going over there. It's just, and they just keep trucking. And they sound good. I listen to them. I listen to 99.1 a lot in the car, and they sound fine. They're great. In fact, sometimes I'm listening to WTOP, and I think I'm listening to WNEW. Is it me, or is WTOP starting to sound more and more like WNEW? It's weird. It's all wacky weird. But anyhow, so here's my theory. Here's my crazy dream from last night. What if the next big person to go from WTOP to WNEW is Jim Farley? That's right. I said Jim Farley. What if, Jim Farley is the mastermind behind WTOP. We all agree with that. He's been here forever. He's been here since the Stone Age. He used to work, he used to work for CBS up in New York at WINS or whatever. Their old news are up there way back in his youth. But anyhow, he works now. He's the mastermind behind WTOP, and he's retiring at the end of the year. Okay? He's going to be gone. Now, he's going to stay on in some sort of consultancy capacity. That's what he says. But just what if Jim Farley, all of a sudden we got a press release in mid-January 2014, Jim Farley has been hired by CBS Radio to oversee WNEW. What if? I'm just like, I don't know. Would that be wild or what? And, I'm just noticing such a weird dynamic between WTOP and WNEW these days that they're like patting each other on the back. Like, in a weird way, they're almost in bed together. Something's going to happen. I don't know. If maybe Farley knows something we don't know, that maybe CBS and Hubbard are close to some kind of a deal there. I always thought when Steve Swenson is the head of CBS's DC radio cluster here in Washington. When Steve was brought down, what was it? The mid 2011, right? About 7 months before they launched WNEW. And I thought, he has all news background from New York, and he's actually worked at WTOP even way back when, so they all cross-pollinate. What if, Steve Swenson's goal is not only just to start a competing station here to WTOP, but to actually get CBS's hands on WTOP. And I still think that's the end game. I still think somewhere down the line, drip, 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 CBS wants to get WTOP. And if they can't buy the station, then maybe they can just get all the people individually to come over to WNEW. And the next person in line would be Jim Farley. I don't know. Jim's probably watching this and going, Dave, you've completely lost your mind. And I'm sure I'll get an email from him after he sees this and says, Dave, you've completely flipped out. Get the red and the white coats, get the straight jacket, and haul you off. But it's just, I don't know. It just came to my mind and said, what if somewhere in early 2014, after he's retired from WTOP, Jim Farley goes to work for the other guys? I mean, hey, he's going to be working for CBS, and everybody, you know, if you're in radio news, you gotta love. They're the top. They're the top banana. CBS Radio News. They own all newsers in all these huge markets, and they're successful everywhere except here. You know, you look at New York, and you look at LA, and you look at San Francisco, and you look at Chicago, and you look at Philadelphia and Boston, and they got all great talk news, all newsers, whatever. But here, they're still struggling. And, you know, I'm just saying, you know, I don't know. If CBS could hire Jim Farley and they could do something to get that 99.1 signal better, that WNEW signal better in Northern Virginia, and all they got to do is buy another stick, buy that Winchester's 92.5, or buy Dan Snyder's WTEM and put 94.3 over. You know, do something, finagle the signals a little bit and get a stronger signal into Northern Virginia. And then they have Jim Farley working for them. Ba-ba-ba-boom, bazinga, here we go. So anyhow, that's my crazy prediction. Will it come true? Who knows? Probably will. Most of my crazy predictions do. But anyhow. Oh, I had a great time. I want to shout out to Biker Bob Meyer, Robert Meyer. I believe that's his name. If I got it wrong, then shoot me in the head because I'm a stupid idiot. Bob, he's one of these cool guys. He's one of our mailbagger guys. He lives in Fairfax. I go down to his house yesterday, and I've been there before. He's a really nice guy, but he's got the craziest setup you've ever seen. He's got antennas sprouting from his chimney and from his carport, and anyhow, he's got this massive setup in his living room with this widescreen TV and this crazy remote that can access anything. And you go there and it's just wild. He's got antennas, and he's living in Fairfax, and he can get over-the-air reception digitally of like all the Baltimore stations, including all their sub-channels, and pulling channel 2, 11, and 13. I mean, you just can't do that in the Washington area anymore, but Bob down there in Fairfax can do this with his crazy setups, and he's showing me, 45 and stuff. You know, you just can't get digital signals of those Baltimore channels down here in Washington anymore, except over at Bob's place. And he's got his cable box and set up and all the surround sounds and the DVR, and it's amazing what he's got. And then you go down in his basement, and he's got this huge computer setup where he's pulling in internet streams from all over the universe. You just mentioned to him any station, WFMU in New York, or some little obscure station in Seattle, or I love 6 Music out of England, BBC Radio 6, and boom, it comes in high fidelity, blasting stereo, and it's just amazing what he's got there. It's really, had a great time yesterday. So Bob, if you want to come over to my place sometime and set me up, I don't know, I think I really like what Bob's got set up, and then his car, he's got this wild setup too, with all this, 20 feeds of whatever, and Sirius XM and HD radio and everything else. And he's picking up HD radio signals from 98 Rock and POC up in Baltimore, down here in Fairfax. I mean, something I just can't get on my crazy little cheap radio. But so I had a good time hanging out with Bob yesterday. Want to do tip of the camo cap, which I don't have on at the moment. But anyhow, shout out to Bob, one of our favorite DCR TVers, by the way. All right, folks, thanks for watching Dave TV for the 17th of November, 2013. Buck 'em, Dano.